The 28th of December 2023, you're very welcome back. I'm speaking a bit loud just to try and be heard. This video is Eireann temperature liars, L-I-A-R-S, in case you have any doubt about my intentions or my wording. It's in the media this morning and all the left-wing media such as radio, television, that 2023 was the warmest year on record. Now, anyone that listens to them over the years will know that for the last 10 years, when there's a month, not every month, but occasionally they'll say such a month, June, was the hottest June on record. They do not define what they mean by on record. And there is the lie and the scam that they tell in conjunction with their friends in radio, television and elsewhere and in the media. And also, anyone with half a brain, except the airheads that listen to these people, would know that if only 1 month in 6 in every year was the warmest on record, and if that heat increase was only 1%, then that would amount to, if that heat increase was only 0.1%, then over 12 months, over 10 months, that would be 0.6%. And over 12 months, it would be 0.8% or thereabouts. And then if that happened for 4 years, 4.8 would be 3.2%. If it happened for twice that period, it would be 6%, 6 degrees. Sorry, where I say percent, I mean degrees. So if they announce at the end of 6 of the 12 months, some months they don't announce it. It's only when they want to give you their side of it. They don't tell you anything different, and in any event, what they're giving you is false. But I'm giving you the example that if they announce that they never announce a reduction in temperature, never. But if they announce half of the months in the year are 0.1% up on the previous record, previous 2 months or whatever it is, then over 12 months, 1 year, there would have to be 0.8 degrees centigrade of a rise. And if that happened for 0.8 degrees centigrade for 1 year, if that happened for 10 years, that would be 8 degrees centigrade. The water would be boiling out of the lakes. Now, anyone with half a brain knows that. Also, if every year in the last 12 years, we'll say, is the hottest on record, they don't announce by how much, but we'll say it's half of 1 degree centigrade, then that would be 6 degrees over the 12 years. And clearly that is a lie. It is not 6 degrees warmer now than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. In my opinion, the temperature is the same. There may be a slight increase, maybe a half of 1 degree. It's very hard to know. But you remember there are no proper temperature gathering stations in Ireland. Most of them are in towns. They started off in rural areas up at Dublin Airport, and then they put jet planes in every 10 minutes, and they expect to get the same reading, and they have them in towns and cities. Nothing in Ireland can be trusted, and nothing in the UK can be trusted. There are 2 reliable weather stations in the Arctic regions. One is Andaman Scott, run by the United States military, and that's accurate. I haven't time today to go into it. And this is the problem. When Eireann lies, it takes me a lot of time to prove that they're lying. But there's another one called Andaman Scott. Now, the Vladivostok Russian station is not properly manned. It is no joke manning an Arctic or an Antarctic weather station and collecting the data. It is no joke at all. And so the Danish government maintains the Cap Norris-Jessup weather station in the high Arctic. It's very high up there, and it's a good indication of temperatures in extreme regions. There is no airports, there is no traffic, there are no volcanoes, there is nothing in the area other than the natural weather conditions, and they have data there going back a long time, and every time I've checked it over the last 15 years, I find no evidence of climate change at all. So I've looked at it this morning, and I find on it there, that's it there, you can get it there, Cap Norris-Jessup. It's called after some fella, I'm sure he was a fantastic man, but it's called after him. And here we have the weather from 1985 back to 2003. Now, if you go to get in with this with your pencil and calculator, or if somebody has a degree or whatever, fair enough. I have a degree obtained about 20 years ago, in which I dealt with quantitative methods and principles of costing, and I dealt with the mean, medium, mode and standard deviation, and I got an honour in it. I got a second class honour in that particular subject. So I got roughly 65% in it in an exam situation, which is not bad because nobody gets 100. So I understand these things. So if we look at their temperature records and go into it, we find data. And you can go through this yourself. It'll destroy this video if I go into it too much. But I have looked at 1985. And I put it here on this sheet of paper down here. Now, they don't give every date because they don't collect it every date, and there is various reasons for that. And some days they'll give 6 readings, some days they'll give 5, some days they'll give 7 and 4. So it's not the same. You can't compare each year minute for minute, hour for hour, but you can compare enough to give you an average. And there is an average there published for 1985, and I'm after extrapolating the figures. So the dates they give in 1985 is the 1st, the 3rd, the 7th, the 5th, 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, 15th, 17th, 19th, 21, 23, 25, 27, 29, and 31. And I worked out the temperatures there. You can do it yourself if you want to prove me wrong. And I divide by the maximum number of days, and I get minus 19.687. Minus 19.687. And obviously, the dead of night, 3 o'clock in the morning, is a lot colder. It's a lot colder. So then I went on to 2023, the year that Met Eireann claims is the hottest year on record. And I picked the corresponding dates. 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, 15th, 17th, 19th, 21, 23, 25, 27. And I couldn't, 27, 29th and 31. But clearly 31 hasn't come, nor has 29. So what I had to do was use today's reading, the reading of the 28th. It mightn't change that much. So there will be problems getting the exact difference, but I'm just going for the month of December 2023 as opposed to the month of December 2085. Now, so that's 42 years ago. And there'll be decimal places, and I understand decimal places and the nearest decimal place. So I do round a little, and I careful adding up my figures. It's a painstaking task. If anyone has time on their hands or is nursing a broken leg or something and would like to do this or help with it, somebody that I can trust and that's reliable and would like to do a little bit of research on the temperatures both at Cap Norris-Jessup and Andaman Scott, it would be great. Now, there is a weather station in Canada. I didn't go there yet. There are question marks all over American weather stations and ones in the tropics and everything else, because unless they're properly maintained and properly and scientifically examined, the chances for inaccuracy and the chances for downright corruption exists. Now, I've done out the figures for 2023 using today's temperature of 26 minus 26.6 degrees as the best estimate. And I came up with the temperature for this year is minus 21.85 degrees centigrade. It's, folks, it's almost 2 degrees colder to this December than it was 42 years ago. And I'm getting this consistently. And I'm a working person, I have to work, and I have to do a lot of other things. But I've checked this out a few times. Once or twice you'd find the opposite, you'd find a slight increase. But I think it's reasonable to say that if Eireann comes out and says that 2023 was the warmest year on record, and I check 1 month in both years, and I find that the December is almost 2 degrees colder, then that is significant. But I've been finding that when I did very big extrapolations with great time and effort put into it. Now, of course, you can go back and check each month and it'll all take time. But I've done this before several times and I've been unable to find any change whatsoever. In effect, what I'm saying is the temperatures in the Arctic regions, and when I've checked Andaman Scott, are identical to they are today indeed. Yes, there was snowfall back in 1963, there was snowfall back in 82, over several years there was almost none, and we had close to snow last year and flurries and all of that. There is no real evidence. Eireann are selecting the data, and they're lying because this is the part of the World Economics Scare program. Now, of course, there'll come people on here, oh no, you can't just take a month, you can't just take a month. And this is how they try to beat you. They make such wild lies and they make them with nothing at all out of their head. And in order to prove it, you have to go to great trouble. And when you do prove it, they own the media and therefore they can keep you off the media. It is quite clear from walking around Ireland today, which is impacted by the North Atlantic drift, big time, that there is little or no change in temperature. They're putting names on storms like we had the last few days, to put a name on a bit of wind and a bit of rain. Long ago, that wouldn't be given any name, and everyone would just say, God, there was a couple of very wet days there. That's life in Ireland. We live in the middle of a bathtub in a steaming hot North Atlantic drift, and we wonder when rain falls upon us. It falls in Norway, in Sweden, in Scotland, and in Iceland. I was there. The weather in Iceland is worse, if anything, and wetter than it is here in Ireland. Of course, there are places like Florida and Gibraltar and other places where it's lovely and warm, of course. But that's not the issue. In Oman, it's piping hot. It has been piping hot in Oman going back hundreds of years, and everyone I met and all old people could confirm that. There's no change in Italy. There's no change anywhere. You can't have increases in temperature 1 month on month for 12 years without the accumulated temperature becoming apparent. There are a crowd of lying hooers. And I challenge them to come along and we try and get people, I may have to do it myself and devote precious time to it, to prove. There's no breaking up of the Antarctic or Arctic ice sheets. They show a big lump of the Antarctic ice sheet breaking off. Oh look, and they put this on telly. And that is a process known as calving. The snow and rain falls on top of the Arctic ice cap as rain and snow, and it freezes into ice. And as it builds up, it pushes the glacier at the edges out. On the Antarctic, the glacier is pushed out, often very, very high. As it comes near the sea, it has no support, and big chunks of it fell in. In 1912, that happened up in Greenland somewhere, and that iceberg destroyed and sunk the Titanic. So it was happening back then. You have to have the breaking off of pieces of the Arctic and Antarctic ice sheets, because otherwise they'd become 55 miles high. They'd be 50 miles high. And therefore, how would the edges of them stay up? How would the edge stay straight? Surely as the sun would rise in the summer and that, and a bit of heat, bits would fall off. And that's exactly what calving is. That's another complete and utter lie put about by the media that the globe is warming. It is not warming, and this is the amazing thing about it. This is the amazing thing about it. There is good evidence that it's actually cooling and that we're actually entering an ice age. Now, I do accept that the level of carbon dioxide in the air is rising, and I can see the impact of that on the growth of plants. That's the natural process. That's how nature responds to increases in carbon dioxide. It grows more plants. But this here, and this propaganda put forward by the World Economic Forum, by the corrupt European Union, and the Irish government and the Irish servants of the Irish government, is false. If it weren't false, there'd be no ice caps now. Al Gore said in 2005 the ice caps would be gone by now. They're there, the same as they were always. There are minor changes, there always were minor changes, and there will always be minor changes. But the figures they're producing are propaganda, false, and lies, and none of it is ever subjected to a proper analysis, a proper assessment anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. For many years, at the start of this hysteria, the head person at the top of the International Climate Change Panel was a fellow called Pashuri. He was a railway engineer. He had no training in climate at all. His training was laying down railway lines and putting the right camber on them and shape on them. And yet he was the man who was selected to decide what the climate was. And he was allowed to give a say when the likes of Pierce Corbyn, an eminent climatologist, and many more were refused an ear. If it was happening, we'd have it by now. It is not happening by now. There is going to be no melting of the ice caps. You will not be sitting out in the month of December in Greystones or in Enniscorthy or Courtown, County Wexford. You will not be sitting out at Bettystown Beach in County Meath some Christmas Day having a cocktail on a deck seat. That is not going to happen, and it'll be very rarely that you'll do it in the month of July. It's not going to happen. The whole thing is a massive scam, a massive falsehood, and you can go into Cap Norris Jessup there. You can go into Andaman Scott. You can get your pencil out if you have nothing better to do, and you can work out the statistics year in, and get the whole lot, and if you know how to do it, with averages, standard deviation, mean, medium, and mode. What a lie these villains are telling. What a dirty, rotten lie, and what taxation they tried to do, and what damage they wrought to the environment with the stupid renewable energy which has failed in Germany and brought them to their knees. Biden is still pushing it in America. A fella, he doesn't even know where the blooming steps to get off the stage are. He doesn't know how to get to the toilet, and I don't know how he gets through the night. He probably has to have a nappy on him. That's the reality of this. That's the reality, folks. Comment, there'll be people come on here. Oh, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's not wrong. You cannot continually increase the temperature on paper without something happening out there. And it's not happening out there. Thumbs up, please, if you agree, or thumbs down if you don't. We'll see you back soon.